Hello, and welcome to the Fire Jumper Academy. My name is Daniel Matthews, and I'm a consulting systems engineer with GSSO Channels at Cisco. This module will cover the Cisco Security Assessments and Proof of Values, otherwise known as POVs. For the agenda, this module will cover the partner-executed POV, POV methodology. We'll discuss on-prem security assessments, cloud security assessments, and we'll also talk about threat hunting workshops and our cyber threat response clinics. The partner-executed POV is part of the outcome-centric strategy we have for selling. This starts with our Fire Jumper Academy, where, based on the competency area that's chosen, you'll be trained on how to properly position a product and, if needed, perform an appropriate POV that utilizes best practices and shows the customer value of the solution. When choosing to perform a POV with a customer, we want to make sure that you're mapping customer business drivers and initiatives with Cisco differentiators and solutions. As a result of partner-executed POVs, we often see higher average deal sizes, shorter proof-to-close timeframes, higher POV win rates, less hardware shipping, faster hardware returns, and ultimately more efficient usage of time for sales engineers. The thing to keep in mind with POVs is that you don't always want to lead in with a customer POV. First, you want to start with determining the customer's needs, and from there, demo the appropriate product that best fits the needs of the customer situation. Oftentimes, this will be enough, and you can save time and money by not doing the POV at all. However, there will be situations when a POV makes sense, and that's when we recommend following the POV best practices guides that are available out on the security community pages, and we're going to be referencing those throughout today's presentation. The key for every POV is to make sure that you establish the win criteria before you start a POV to avoid scope creep and keep the customer focused on the established goals. Whenever possible, the POV process is simplified with dcloud configurations that should be used when available. Finally, you want to provide useful reports to the customer at the end of the POV that show the value of the product and how it makes sense from a business perspective as well as a security perspective. So the first assessment that we want to talk about is the next-gen firewall. So this is a 2-week trial that the customer can sign up for, and the way that it works is they get routed to a business demand representative for follow-up and qualification. During the qualification process, we'll ask questions about the customer and find out if they're with a preferred partner. If a preferred partner is identified, then the customer is then going to be routed to the appropriate partner representative. The partner will then drive setting up the threat scan and will review the results with the customer after the fact. So there's a couple of ways that the POV can be done when it comes to the next-gen firewall threat assessment. First of all, there's an on-site POV process where we install a virtual machine inside the customer's environment, and that can be for both the firewall or for the FMC for management. There's also the capability to do a dcloud POV where the virtual firewall or physical firewall can be put into the customer's environment, but the FMC is actually utilized from dcloud. There's also the capability to use higher-end hardware if needed. Typically, a customer can do a POV with one of our 2100 series appliances. However, if a higher-end appliance is needed for performance reasons, such as the 4100 series or the 9300 series, those pieces of hardware can be obtained for POVs by going through the appropriate member of your account team. So again, for the deployment options for next-gen firewall, just to go into a bit more detail, we have the on-site sensor and FMC, where both are in the customer environment. Typically, they're going to be virtualized, so we have to make sure the customer has a VMware ESXi server. We need to download the FMC VM. We have to add licenses to the FMC. We have to make sure that the FTD software is up to date. And then we're going to have to go through and configure the various policies, the system policies, the health policies, file policies, intrusion policies, etc. All these policies are going to have to be configured, and then we actually go through and perform the POV, generate the appropriate risk reports, and then when we're done, if there's any hardware on site, we're going to have to actually go through and sanitize those devices before we ship them back, or if they're virtual, of course, make sure that they're deleted. With an on-site sensor in the dCloud FMC, however, we remove a number of those steps, and it can make it a much more efficient POV process. All that's needed for this is to schedule a dCloud session accordingly for the FMC. Of course, update the FCD software, make sure that we have an internet connection going out to TCP 8443 for communication. But what we don't have to do when we use the dCloud portion for the POV, the dCloud FMC, is we don't have to worry about configuring the policies, and we don't have to worry about licensing the product because they're already pre-configured for best practices. Of course, there's some customization that can go on with policies that may fit your customer's needs, but having the basic policies there is going to be a lot easier. And then you can move forward with performing the POV, creating the appropriate risk reports, and of course for standardization, if you have a piece of hardware on site, you only have to do the FTD because FMC is in dCloud. And as soon as that session ends, then that data, customer data, is going to go away. The next assessment that we want to talk about is for advanced malware protection, or AMP for endpoints. First question is, of course, why do a proof of value for AMP, right? Obviously, we can show a customer how quickly we can scope, contain, and remediate a threat. You can also show how easy it is to deploy and maintain AMP for endpoints. It's been basically typical that when we go into an environment with AMP for endpoints, that we're always going to find something that the customer wasn't aware of, and that was a threat to their environment. So there's always going to be value in deploying AMP in the customer's environment as long as we, again, establish the appropriate win criteria. Obviously, there are risks that go along with it. We have to make sure that we properly tune AMP for endpoints, things such as making sure we have the appropriate file exceptions in place. And if there's another vendor software, maybe AV software on the same machine or anti-malware software, we want to make sure that we don't have any resource conflicts. So we have to make sure those things are configured accordingly. When it comes to determining the success criteria of an AMP proof of value, we always recommend that you try to avoid what we refer to as the detection game. Ideally, we want to make sure that we set expectations correctly before we do a POV with appropriate success criteria. If the customer is out to see if one vendor can find more malware than another vendor, then they may be setting you up for failure. Because there's always a chance that another vendor has already come in and set you up for failure with malware that they know you won't catch based on prior testing. So it's important to focus on win criteria that are defined as part of the customer POV and making sure that those goals are achieved. The next assessment we want to talk about is the Security Online Visibility Assessment. Security Online Visibility Assessment is a free 14-day risk assessment of a customer's network traffic. It's focused on common areas of security risk, and at the end of this 14-day period, we'll provide a detailed, actionable report on the customer's specific security risks. And using this information, you as a partner can make more informed decisions on recommendations of security solutions and the appropriate policies and management that go along with that. The way that it works is you deploy a lightweight virtual appliance called a cloud collector into the customer network, and you direct the flow data, whether that be NetFlow or IPFix data, to that virtual appliance. The collector then encrypts the metadata and transfers it to the Security Online Visibility Assessment Cloud Engine for analysis. And over the 14-day period, that Cloud Engine assesses the key areas of risk and can produce a report that you can bring to the customer. It should be noted that you can extend the SOVA data collection period by 1 week up to 2 times to get a maximum of 28 days of data if needed. As far as how to get access to the SOVA tool and how to run a SOVA, we recommend that you visit the Sales Connect site at the link on this particular page and go through the appropriate training video for the SOVA, and then take the COLT exam that's associated with that, Once you pass the COLT exam, you'll want to, as a sales engineer, request access from your manager. And if you're a generalist or if you're a Cisco partner, you can send an email to sova-help@cisco.com to get access to the SOVA dashboard. Once you have access to the SOVA dashboard and the SOVA has run in the customer environment, you can generate a customized report for the customer, which provides a generic overview for each threat category and also allows for free-form text to be added in the notes section for recommendations that may be specific to that customer situation. The report includes detailed results on the top areas of security risk, including what internal hosts were engaged in the activity, the amount of traffic, and what external hosts were involved, if applicable. This assessment is a great way to get your foot in the door to a customer that's not familiar with the Cisco portfolio, or a customer that's simply lacking in security controls and is interested in improving their overall security posture. The next assessment that we want to go over is email security with AMP. So email security is very important, as we know. Email is the #1 threat vector when it comes to malicious activity in a customer environment. Email security with AMP assessment is a 45-day proof of value that provides the customer with visibility into their email with regards to threats such as malicious links, malicious or offensive content, spam, and even malicious attachments. AMP is a key component of the email security solution, and using intelligence from our Talos Threat Research Organization, it can detect malicious files even days after they were found to be a threat to an organization. The POV Best Practices Guide for Email Security has example configurations and reports that will help show the value to your customer based upon their specific needs. The link at the bottom of this page shows how you can go and get appropriate licensing to run a POV, and also can run through the POV Best Practices Guide, also shown on this slide, to be able to show the best way to go through and set up the POV, and also to where to go get the software, the appropriate configuration, and the recommended policies and reports to show a customer to show value for the email security appliance, again, especially using the AMP capabilities that are built into the email security appliance. And finally, we'll go over device sanitization, what to do as far as once the POV is over to make sure that we sanitize that device and get rid of the customer data. Another piece of the email assessments that we want to discuss is the Office 365 Threat Analyzer tool. So this is a tool that is designed to go into an environment and actually show the shortcomings of Office 365 security and show how that paired with Cisco email security, certain levels of Office 365 security can provide a more robust security posture for the customer. So first, let's talk about what's involved in the security of Cisco email solution. Basically, that's built around Talos, which is our threat research organization. And on the slide, you see all the different email security engines that Talos feeds from the email security standpoint. So to give you a quick example of the impact that Talos has on our customers, let's look at one thing here, and that's the sender reputation piece at the top. So for those of us in the United States, we're familiar with reputation scores, with credit scores rather. So when we talk about the reputation score, this is very similar to what we think of as our individual credit scores in the U.S., except in this case, it's based on the sender's IP address. So with Talos, we block over 80% of emails based on the sender's reputation alone. Microsoft does not have this capability. So utilizing the various intelligence feeds and research that Talos has available, all incoming emails are scanned by the rest of the engines, at which point we make a decision to drop, quarantine, or deliver those emails. And the great thing is that Talos updates all these engines as frequently as every 3 to 5 minutes, and that keeps email security customers protected. So that intelligence is then built into our email security solution, And we get the customer a taste of this by using this Office 365 Threat Analyzer tool. So as you can see here, it's a free non-subscription tool that reports on threats within the customer's environment. And there's a lot of customers sometimes that have concerns with giving access to their email infrastructure because they're afraid this is going to get in the middle. That is not the case. This simply goes out and does a read-only of the specified number of mailboxes and the certain specified mailboxes for the scan. And then once that scan is complete, we can run reports based showing spam, showing gray mail, and showing various malware threats. Here we have two charts that compare Cisco's email security features with those included in the online exchange protection for Office 365. And as you can see here, the basic package does not include advanced threat protection. Based upon our pricing analysis, Cisco Email Security with AMP becomes cheaper than Microsoft E5, which is the premium package from Microsoft, starting at around 5,000 users. So for 5,000 users, Email Security plus AMP ends up being about 7% cheaper than E5 for more robust capabilities. So our recommendation is that if you have customers that are transitioning to Office 365, we highly encourage them to purchase Microsoft's E3 package, which is the basic package, in addition to Cisco's Email Security with AMP to ensure that they have the best protection possible. This screen shows a sample report of the Office 365 Threat Analyzer tool and the output that you would see once the scan is completed. So here we see the number of mailboxes that have been scanned, we see the number of emails that have been scanned, and then it gets a little more higher level, the number of infected mailboxes, the amount of spam that was found, the number of malicious URLs and malware that were detected. And then we can even go a step further and show the gray mail activity, right? This is mail that may be categorized as certain spam or marketing emails or bulk emails, as we can see here. And then we also get a high-level threat summary showing the number of malicious URLs, malware, scam, phishing, etc., right? So the idea being that we're not looking to show them the details of why Microsoft didn't pick up these things, but we just want them to know that Microsoft fell short here, and here's how Cisco Email Security can really enhance their security posture for their email. The next thing we want to talk about is the umbrella trial. So the umbrella trial, again, has a POV guide that goes along with it, a POV best practices guide. And from here, kind of walks through how to appropriately license it, how to appropriately configure policies and modify the DNS within the customer's environment, and of course, which valuable reports are going to show the most value to a customer. Initially, going out to umbrella.com is the basic way to go out and sign up for a trial for a customer, and that's going to get a 14-day trial from day one once everything is configured and set up. However, recently we have added a new option called the Partner Proof of Value Console. The big advantage for the Partner Proof of Value Console is that as a partner, you're able to provision 21-day trials rather than 14-day trials, and you're able to track those trials within a single dashboard. And if needed, you can actually extend those trials an additional 21 days with the click of a button. You can also request access to the customer's trial from within that dashboard if it wasn't done at the onset of the POV setup. And finally, you can produce reports to show blocked attacks. The PPOV dashboard can show by itself high-level threats that are seen within a customer environment. And then we can also request access, as you can see here, to the customer's dashboard, and then go in and show more valuable reports that are available from within the customer's umbrella dashboard. In order to gain access to the PPOV console, partners must meet certain requirements, so be sure to talk to your Cisco account team or the Cisco channel CSE to find out how you can gain access to the umbrella PPOV console. Next thing you want to talk about is the Cloud Lock security assessment. So to start with, CloudLock addresses three main components or three main risks within a customer's environment. So the first one is user and behavior analytics. We also look at data loss prevention, and finally, sanctioned applications, right? So with user and entity behavior analytics, we're looking at accounts that are accessing, for example, Office 365 email. Maybe if someone is constantly trying to gain access with a username and password and they're failing maybe 50, 100 times in a minute, then that's obviously something to be concerned about and something that a user and their administrators are going to want to be aware of. So in case that their account becomes compromised. So that's the first one. Also within that same realm, if a user logs into their Box account from Dallas, Texas, and then 10 minutes later they log into that same Box account from London, England, we know the person can't travel that fast. So from that standpoint, there's most likely an issue where that's a compromised account. There's also DLP capabilities where we can look at data such as maybe a spreadsheet that has credit card data that's not PCI compliant, or maybe HIPAA data that is being posted out to maybe Box or into Salesforce, just information like that. This is going to have visibility into that. And then sanctioned applications, right? We know that there are customers that use Google Auth credentials for corporate, various corporate access things, especially into things like, to certain cloud-based applications. So if they're using those credentials, they may unknowingly give permissions that are unnecessary and end up putting that particular customer at risk because they're giving more permissions than are needed for that particular application. So CloudLock has visibility into that and the capability to warn and have some control over that as well. The way that CloudLock works is also specifically unique in that we don't have any hardware that's required to be deployed in a customer environment, and it's all done through APIs from our Cisco cloud into those specific cloud-based applications. And again, as we mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, a POV isn't going to always be required. Knowing how easy it is to deploy, there's no hardware, it's all cloud-based. The fact that it has extremely effective and we have the customer references to back that up and analyst validation as well, it may be that POV isn't necessary and maybe going straight into a sale is going to be more appropriate. However, if a POV does become a necessity for a customer, there's a link at the bottom of this slide you can visit that has a particular form that can be filled out for the customer, and they can start a trial and a POV of Cisco CloudLock. Next, we have StealthWatch Cloud. So there's two StealthWatch Cloud products available, which are public cloud monitoring and private cloud monitoring. And StealthWatch Cloud leverages compute benefits of the cloud to provide visibility and actionable security alerts into both the customer's public cloud deployment and their on-prem network. StealthWatch Cloud provides easy to deploy and easy to manage threat detection in public cloud infrastructure, such as Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud. In the past, it's been difficult for small to medium businesses and commercial businesses to experience a similar level of security and visibility as the large enterprise companies. This is for reasons usually such as limited budget, limited security teams, and really overall complexity. StealthWatch Cloud also addresses this problem by providing a complete security and visibility service that's managed in the cloud. There's no equipment to buy, there's no local storage requirements, and it provides automatic and actionable alerts without a lot of complexity. So let's take a quick look at the underlying technology that makes it possible to deliver enterprise-level visibility to all networks using StealthWatch Cloud. The technology behind StealthWatch Cloud is a machine learning methodology called dynamic entity modeling. This allows StealthWatch Cloud to provide complete visibility and precise alerting on only security-relevant events. So we start by collecting inputs such as IP metadata, passive DNS, and authentication logs, and modeling each of those entities. During the baseline period, the model is doing several things, such as detecting the role of the entity, such as a database server, maybe a printer, and what its normal communication is for it. Information such as what ports and protocols it uses, the time of day it's active, byte counts, traffic profiles, what countries it communicates with, etc., right? All these things factor into this modeling. Once the baseline is done, all the StealthWatch Cloud alerts are activated, and some alerts, like Port Scanner, are active immediately as they don't require extensive behavior knowledge. So if you want to start a StealthWatch Cloud trial, the best way to do that is visit the link here at the bottom of this page, and that'll take you to a form where you can fill out at the bottom of the page, or you can go straight into AWS and AWS Marketplace and start a StealthWatch Cloud POV from there. To summarize, Cisco has a menu of security assessments and POVs that are available to customers to help them find a solution that will best fit their needs. The entire menu, with links on how to start each assessment and where to find the POV best practices guides, are located on Sales Connect and can be accessed by visiting the link at the bottom of this slide. Next thing I want to talk about is our threat hunting workshops. The goal of this workshop is not necessarily to sell products, but it's to teach concepts and techniques of threat hunting using a unified cloud-hosted set of data that's integrated across endpoint, DNS, threat research, and cloud security tools. At the end of the hands-on workshop, partners will be able to demonstrate threat hunting techniques using real data in live consoles, and most importantly, customers will be armed with knowledge and hands-on experience in hunting down threats and defending networks against advanced adversaries. More details on the CTR clinics are available on the security community at the link at the bottom of this slide. Partners and internal Cisco employees can request one of these workshops using the request tool that's also available on this slide. And finally, we have Cyber Threat Response Clinics. These Cyber Threat Response Clinics, also referred to as CTR clinics, were built as a training platform based on the Cisco Security Integrated Threat Defense architecture and solutions. Students will experience lifelike cyber security attack situations in a virtualized enterprise lab environment where they'll get to play both the role of the attacker and the defender. Utilizing an environment that models after many enterprise networks, students will learn and understand how their own environments get compromised, how security breaches get detected, and how to respond with maximum effectiveness. In addition to the training modules available, there are also associated marketing materials that can be distributed at these clinics as takeaways. This includes a professionally designed comic book and other materials that can be customized with partner logos to achieve maximum effectiveness for your CTR clinic. To learn more about the Cisco Cyber Threat Response Clinics, please visit the link at the bottom of the slide. Thank you for your time and your commitment to Cisco and the FireJumper Academy.